Let's move also in our Central London studios to Guido Fawkes reporter Tom Harwood. Tom, your flight was cancelled after all this chaos at Gatwick. Tell us what happened.
It was. I was meant to be taking a 3.5-day business trip off to Florida, and as you can see, I'm still in London. So really, the next flight that I could have got would have flown tonight, and that would have meant that I was only there for sort of the last half day of the entire conference. So really, the entire trip's just been thrown away.
Sure. And what have you been told about compensation?
Well, I mean, I've had very sketchy reports with the airline. It was really hard to get through on the phone. The queues are enormous in the airport yesterday, as I'm sure we've seen on the TV screens. So really, all I've had is through the app, which says they'll refund the cost of the flight, but really nothing further.
How was it actually being in amongst it at Gatwick?
It was really strange. There were some people who were very visibly upset. Families who were sort of trying to console each other, but also lots of people just sort of sat there not really knowing what to do, completely powerless, almost staring into the middle distance in a state of despair. It was a really strange atmosphere, and so busy as well. At points you could barely move for people in some of the smaller areas, completely chock-a-block, and people just stuck there for hours and hours on end, not knowing whether their flight would be cancelled or whether they'd be flying later in the day. I was told initially that my flight was moved from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m, and it was only about 4 p.m. that we were told that it was finally cancelled.
You know, many of us have been in situations where flights get cancelled or delayed. This is a very, very dramatic example of that. But when it happens, there is a sense of anger and frustration amongst passengers there. When you were there, who was it directed at? The pilot of the drones, the reaction of the security services, then the military? What was the feeling there?
Well, there was a sort of bemused sense of confusion, really, as to why are we incapable, seemingly, of shooting down, taking out what is a little drone? It seems extraordinary that you have the entire weight of the British state, even the army by the end of the day, and we haven't been able to somehow shoot it down. I think there are a lot of people who are incredibly frustrated of the precaution that was being taken with regard to more violent measures of getting this thing out of the way so that planes could fly. Really.
On reflection with that, though, Tom, I was reading some things about how difficult it is, in fact, to try and shoot those down. Was there an appreciation, albeit a tough appreciation, that it is safer not to fly?
I think there was certainly an appreciation that drones in the air, I mean, it's better to not fly at all than to have your plane struck by what could be a pretty disastrous flying object. So I think there was a certain appreciation of that when people understood, but really there was that sense of just bemusement and lack of knowledge as to what was going on. No one really had a good understanding initially of why there was such a delay and why there was so little seemingly being done about it.
OK, Tom, thanks for speaking to us. Sorry about that Florida trip, but the Sky Studios in Westminster is a wonderful substitute, I'm sure.
Almost as warm.
Excellent. Thank you for being with us.